My name is Eric Holmes and I am the War Stories Design Director at DICE in Stockholm on Battlefield 5. Yeah, I think the thing that War Stories give us is they give us a sense of time and place in a way that it's a little harder to do in multiplayer. So we can know what it's like to drive a Tiger tank and kind of be there, so to speak. We can know what it's like to fight for the resistance in Norway and know why these characters might fight. Getting behind the eyes of someone and understanding that when you're playing a multiplayer match separately, for example, now you know you've had a little bit of world building done around you and you understand what might be at stake or why these armies are fighting each other, rather than just red team and blue team go at it. Oh, red team won, we're good. And I think that with World War II, there's a certain amount of assumed context there. But we've tried to take kind of untold stories, untold battles, untold fronts of World War II. And so I think we owe it to our customers to do that world building and explain to them what's going on there, rather than just expecting them to start a match and then if they don't get it, go to Wikipedia and read it. So in Battlefield 1, with the Prologue, we had a kind of a focused experience there about the futility of the war. So you'd actually get to live different roles and understand what it's like to operate machinery or be a certain type of soldier in the experience. But you'd also ultimately feel like this is all for nothing. This is just a massively futile enterprise, which I think is what really defined World War I. We have a prologue this time around too, but I do not believe that's the same sort of characteristic between the two wars. So we have a prologue which is dynamic, it's fast moving, it's broad in scope and diverse in roles in a way which is really unique to what World War II is, and takes you on kind of almost like skipping through a greatest hits album of a band and just starting to get into the groove of a song, boom, and then we'll take you over to the next one. We are jumping you through classic roles of infantry, of tanking, of aviation, and giving you context to what's happening in the war in this brief and intense kind of introduction to our world. So I think those two experiences side by side do a pretty good job of defining how the two wars are different. There's also, I think, there's a tonal difference between the two wars, which is really important to recognise. I know we can look back now and we can call, I suppose, what was originally the war, and then it became the Great War. And I don't know if they started calling it the Great War during World War I. But then it was over and it was closed. But I think at the start of it, for many, it had a sense of adventure, and it was going to be this big enterprise where people were going to go and kind of make their names for themselves. And by the end, it was this enormous, depressing hole into which humanity was kind of sliding into. By the time the Second World War came around, and this was looming again, I think there was a sense of cynicism and recognition for what it was in the world, which would have been different to that first time. And I think it's important that we recognise that spirit and that slightly more jaded quality to the world, as well as obviously much more complex issues taking place in World War II beyond just the nature of the fighting. So the war stories we have here at launch and the offering for the game is really based around the United Kingdom and Germany and the fall of Europe. So those are the factions we're primarily depicting. Obviously with Nord-East we have the Norwegians there, but they were working with the British as commandos. We do feature the Americans in The Last Tiger, so you get a quick glimpse of them in the launch product too. But this is really just the start of a journey, and it's called World War II. So I fully expect to have more than we have right now in the long term. When we started researching the game, we started looking at all different areas of conflict, and World War II is a vast subject. We looked at every major field of conflict. We looked at every major nation. We looked at land, sea and air. So there's inspirational stuff from Japan. For example, Yamato is a fascinating vehicle and something which I think is super iconic to Japan. There are some amazing things we could do in the different theatres of war, but we're not launching in all of those theatres or periods right now at the launch. The launch of this game is starting in the fall of Europe, it's United Kingdom, it's Germany. More will come, and I can't announce what that's going to be, but I think there's some pretty exciting stuff in the pipeline.